The phone call came on a Tuesday afternoon, ordinary, until the voice on the other end shattered my entire world. "Miss," the lawyer said, "we need to talk about your inheritance. There are discrepancies." Discrepancies? My heart pounded. My parents had told me for years that there was nothing left from my grandparents, that the family farm, the savings, everything had been gone long before I was old enough to ask questions. I believed them. I trusted them. But the lawyer's voice carried a truth I wasn't ready to hear. My parents had lied. Lied for years. Lied straight to my face while smiling at family dinners. Lied while telling me to stop dreaming of money that never existed. In that moment, shock burned into rage. If my own parents could betray me like this, then I had no choice. I had to fight back. What would you do if your own parents betrayed you for money? Would you walk away and let them win, or fight back to reclaim what was yours? Tell me in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe. Before that call, my life was simple, maybe too simple. I grew up in a small town in Ohio, where everyone knew everyone, and secrets were supposed to be impossible. My parents, Gerald and Marlene Whitaker, carried themselves like pillars of the community. To neighbors, they were the perfect couple, churchgoers, hosts of summer barbecues, the kind of people who smiled wide and waved even to strangers. But behind closed doors, things were different. My father was stern, obsessed with appearances, and always reminding me that I should be grateful for what I had. My mother? She was quieter, but her silence cut deeper. She avoided conflict, but when it came to family money, she and my father spoke with one voice. There was nothing left to inherit. I used to ask about my grandparents' estate, the farmland they worked their entire lives for, the house filled with antique furniture, the stories of savings they had tucked away. Every time, my parents would laugh it off. "Honey," my mother would say, brushing off my questions, "those were just stories. There's nothing left. Don't live in the past." I believed them, because what else could I do? They were my parents. If you can't trust your own family, who can you trust? That's why the lawyer's words felt like a knife to my chest. He told me there were assets, property, bonds, and a trust fund, things my parents had deliberately hidden. They'd been enjoying the benefits all along, while I was left struggling to pay rent and scrape by. It wasn't just money. It was betrayal, written in their every smile and excuse. When I first heard the lawyer's words, I wanted to believe there had been a mistake. Maybe a clerical error. Maybe he had the wrong family. But as he read through the details, the deeds, the trust fund account numbers, the signatures, I felt my chest tighten. It was undeniable. My parents had been living off money that was never supposed to be theirs alone. I confronted them that evening. I remember walking into the living room, where my father sat in his recliner reading the paper, as if nothing in the world could disturb him. My mother was knitting, her eyes fixed anywhere but on me. I told them what I knew, expecting panic, guilt, something. Instead, my father lowered his paper and smirked. So, the lawyer finally opened his mouth. "Figures." His tone was cold, dismissive, as though I were a child throwing a tantrum. "You don't understand," my mother whispered, her needles clicking faster. "It was better this way. You wouldn't know how to handle money like that." Their words crushed me more than the lie itself. Better this way? For whom? They had enjoyed the vacations, the new cars, the remodeled house, all while I worked 2 jobs to pay student loans, skipping meals just to get by. For weeks after that confrontation, I spiraled. I cried myself to sleep, replaying every moment of my life where I had trusted them. Birthdays where they told me they couldn't afford gifts. College years where they said, "Sorry, you're on your own." I thought they were struggling, sacrificing. But they weren't. They were hoarding. The humiliation burned worst of all. How many times had they lied in front of relatives? How many times had I defended them, saying, "My parents are just doing their best"? But slowly, the grief hardened into resolve. If they thought I would stay silent, they were wrong. Because in that pain, I found a new kind of strength. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. After that night, I went quiet, and that terrified them more than my anger ever could. My silence wasn't surrender. It was strategy. While they thought I had dropped the matter, I began working with the lawyer in secret. He showed me the documents, the signatures, the transfers. Everything pointed to deliberate deception. My parents hadn't just forgotten to tell me, they had orchestrated this. Each night, I replayed their smug faces in my head, and each morning, I gathered another piece of evidence. Bank statements, deeds, trust records, proof that the money and property legally belonged, at least in part, to me. I didn't tell friends. I didn't vent on social media. This was bigger than anger. This was about reclaiming what was mine and showing them they couldn't erase me from my own family legacy. The day would come when they'd face everything they'd stolen, not in whispers behind closed doors, but out in the open, where the truth couldn't be buried. And I was going to be the one holding the shovel. The showdown happened in the one place my parents couldn't control, the lawyer's office. I insisted the meeting include not just me, but extended family members who had been told the same lies I had. Aunts, uncles, even cousins showed up, curious why I had called them together. When Gerald and Marlene walked in, my father's expression was as smug as ever. "This is ridiculous," he muttered, glaring at me. My mother kept her head down, clutching her purse like a lifeline. Then the lawyer began laying out the documents. Title deeds to the farm, bank statements from the trust, transfer slips signed in my father's neat handwriting. Piece by piece, the truth unfolded in front of everyone. At first, my father tried to laugh it off. "These things are complicated," he said, waving his hand. But the murmurs in the room grew louder. Cousins turned to one another, shaking their heads. An aunt gasped when she realized they, too, had been denied their share. Finally, the lawyer read aloud the clause from my grandparents' will. The estate is to be divided equally among the grandchildren. Silence fell. My parents' faces drained of color. The fortress of lies they had built for years crumbled in seconds. I looked at them, not with tears this time, but with steady defiance. "You stole from me, from all of us. And now everyone knows." My father slammed his fist on the table, sputtering excuses, but no one believed him anymore. My mother broke into tears, whispering, "We just wanted control." But control was the very thing they lost that day. And in that moment, I felt something I hadn't in years: justice. Walking out of that office, I felt lighter than I had in years. It wasn't just about the money or the property. It was about the truth. For so long, I thought I was crazy for questioning my parents, that I was ungrateful for even daring to ask. But the documents didn't lie. The lawyer didn't lie. My parents did. I spent days replaying everything in my head, not out of bitterness, but out of clarity. What do you do when the people who are supposed to love you unconditionally prove that greed matters more to them than family? The answer, I realized, was painful but simple. You stop expecting them to change. You stop waiting for apologies that will never come. And you build yourself up, stronger, without their approval. This betrayal taught me something I never expected, that blood isn't the ultimate bond. Trust is. And once it's broken, no amount of excuses can piece it back together. I didn't walk away with only an inheritance. I walked away with strength, proof that I wasn't powerless, and the courage to stop letting their lies define me. Sometimes, revenge doesn't look like fire or fury. Sometimes it looks like standing tall while the truth burns them instead. Life after that day didn't become magically perfect, but it became mine. With the lawyer's help, the rightful share of the estate was finally transferred. It wasn't just about the money, though it eased years of financial struggle. It was about freedom. For the first time, I wasn't chained to my parents' version of reality. I bought a small home in my own name, nothing extravagant, but it was mine. Every nail, every wall, every corner felt like a declaration. I did this without them. I set aside part of the inheritance for my future, determined to never let greed twist me the way it had twisted them. Word spread quickly in our community. The Whitakers, once admired, now carried a shadow over their name. Some relatives cut ties with them completely. Others, like me, kept a distance but no longer fell for their act. The power they once held over me, over all of us, was gone. Did it hurt to know my own parents could betray me like that? Absolutely. But the wound became a scar, a reminder of survival, not weakness. I learned that peace doesn't come from pretending everything is fine. It comes from tearing down lies and building a life that's honest, even if it's lonelier. And in my quiet new home, I finally slept without that weight on my chest. Looking back now, I realize something important. Revenge isn't always about destroying someone else. Sometimes, it's about refusing to let them destroy you. My parents thought they could erase my place in the family, silence me, and keep me small. But instead, I found myself in the very fight they tried to keep me from. Sometimes revenge isn't about hurting them. It's about finding yourself again. So tell me, what would you do if your own parents betrayed you like mine did? Would you forgive them? Or would you fight back for the truth? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like mine.